She sneaks beneath my sheets. The research station hummed quietly in the depths of space as Dr. Amy Collins finished her evening reports. The xenobiology lab felt colder than usual tonight, and she pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders. 3 months into the deep space mission, and she still wasn't used to the artificial day cycles. Amy had volunteered for this assignment, studying the recently discovered Zephyrian species. The tall, graceful aliens had made first contact only 2 years ago. Their pale blue skin seemed to shimmer in certain lights, and their large dark eyes held an intelligence that both fascinated and unnerved the human researchers. As the head xenobiologist, Amy worked closely with Lyra, the Zephyrian cultural liaison. Lyra stood nearly 7 feet tall with flowing silver hair that moved as if underwater. Her people had agreed to this joint research mission to better understand each other, but Amy sensed there were things the Zephyrians weren't sharing that night. Amy retired to her private quarters, exhausted from analyzing tissue samples. The station felt unusually quiet, and she noticed the lights in the corridor seemed dimmer than normal. She changed into her sleep clothes and settled into bed, trying to push away the strange feeling that something was different. Hours later, Amy woke to a soft rustling sound. Her quarters were dark, but she could make out a tall figure standing near her door. The emergency lighting cast long shadows, and for a moment, her heart raced with fear. Then she recognized the familiar silhouette. Lyra moved with fluid grace across the small room. Her bare feet made no sound on the metal floor. Amy wanted to speak, but found herself frozen. Not from fear, but from curiosity. The alien woman approached the bed slowly, her dark eyes reflecting what little light existed in the room. She sneaks beneath my sheets, whispering softly that she needs my warmth. Amy thought to herself, as Lyra carefully lifted the covers. The Zephyrians' body temperature ran much lower than humans, and the research station was kept at standard Earth temperature, which meant the aliens were often cold. But this was different. This wasn't about temperature regulation. Amy could sense it in the way Lyra moved, the careful, deliberate way she settled beside her. The alien woman's presence was both comforting and electric. Amy felt her pulse quicken as Lyra's cool skin touched her arm. In the darkness, Lyra began to speak in her musical voice, but not in the universal translator that all species used for communication. Instead, she spoke in her native tongue, the words flowing like water over stones. Amy didn't understand the language, but somehow the meaning seemed to seep directly into her mind. Through their connection, Amy began to see flashes of images: Lyra's homeworld with its crystal cities and floating gardens, the devastating plague that had swept through the Zephyrian population, leaving so few survivors, the desperate search for a cure that had led them to seek out other species. Amy realized with growing alarm that the Zephyrians hadn't come seeking cultural exchange. They needed something from humanity, something they couldn't simply ask for. The tissue samples Amy had been analyzing weren't just for research. They were looking for genetic compatibility. As these revelations flooded her mind, Amy understood why Lyra had come to her tonight. The alien woman wasn't just seeking warmth, she was establishing a deeper connection, one that would allow her people to survive. Amy felt the weight of this knowledge settling on her shoulders. Lyra's cool fingers traced patterns on Amy's arm, and with each touch more information flowed between them. The Zephyrians were dying out, unable to reproduce successfully after the plague had damaged their genetic structure. They needed human DNA not to harm humanity, but to save themselves from extinction. The ethical implications made Amy's head spin. This went far beyond the authorized research mission. If the other humans knew what the Zephyrians really wanted, it could destroy the fragile alliance between their species. But Amy could also see the desperation in Lyra's dark eyes, the quiet dignity with which her people faced their extinction. That moment, lying in the darkness with an alien woman beside her, Amy made a decision that would change everything. She reached out and took Lyra's hand, feeling the cool, smooth skin that was so different from her own. The connection between them strengthened, and Amy opened her mind fully to the communication. What followed was unlike anything Amy had ever experienced. She saw through Lyra's eyes, experienced memories that spanned centuries of Zephyrian history. She felt the loss and grief of a species watching itself fade away, but also the hope that had driven them across the galaxy to find salvation. The hours passed unnoticed as Amy and Lyra shared this profound connection. When dawn finally came to the research station, Amy knew she would have to make choices that no human had ever faced before. The survival of an entire species might depend on her decision and the trust that had formed between two very different beings in the quiet darkness of space. As Lyra prepared to leave Amy's quarters before the other researchers began their daily routines, she paused at the door. Her dark eyes met Amy's, and in that moment, both women understood that everything had changed. The mission would continue, but now it carried a weight and purpose that went far beyond simple scientific research. Amy watched her go, knowing that when she reported to the lab that morning, she would be carrying secrets that could reshape the future of both human and Zephyrian civilization. The alien woman had indeed sought her warmth, but had given Amy something far greater in return, a glimpse into what it truly meant to fight for the survival of one's people.